It's recording now. Yeah. How have you been, Justin?
Busy, and you?
Yeah, it's like a day, like a month.
Say it
One
again?
day in the blockchain is like a month in real life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was working till 6 this morning and got back up at like 9 and started all over again.
What are you busy with?
Excuse me?
What are you working on?
So I'm working on. So I got a actually a blockchain capstone that's wrapping up this week where I have my master's students doing a thesis on the interoperability of Polkadot. So
Mm,
I developed a capstone class so I can do what I want.
okay, that's interesting. We can help you a lot.
So I've been doing that, and then I'm actually writing a book called AI for Good. So how we can integrate artificial intelligence in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So I've been working on that and doing some blockchain research. I was doing quite a bit of research to get ready for this call.
Mm,
So that's what I was doing last night.
brilliant. Cool. I'll just give you a little update. This still confidential. We haven't published it yet. We had 40 investors joining our the first round. Um, will be led by one of the biggest Polkadot fund in the West, one of the biggest Polkadot fund in the East,
Mm-hmm.
and also one of the leading blockchain gaming blockchain fund in Hong Kong, and also one of the biggest fund with tens of millions for KOLs as their LPs. So they'll be leading that along with the other 40 VCs, and plus we already got about 60 VCs on the waiting list on day one of we closing our round. This is before after I. This is the same day I told the day before I talked to you yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty good if we're doing the right thing. This whole thing can just taking off. It really,
Yeah.
yeah.
I want to be on this. I want to be on this ride, my friend.
Yeah, I already invited you. I already
Yeah,
talked to
yeah. I want to
Shannon.
be. I want to be on this rocket ship.
Yeah, you look at like I mean, we'll make it to 100 times, but ideally, I'm thinking 1,000 times one day. Plus, for future projects we're doing with the meta concept, we'll all bring existing investor in, do a little bit easier job for the existing investors, especially in the seed round, so
Mm-hmm.
that you'll be looking at, you'll see that through our conversation. That was our ambition around the whole metaverse, meta-human, in this meta world now. So yeah, maybe I guess Shannon maybe can introduce yourself briefly to Justin, so he can get some idea of your background.
Yep. All right. Cool. Thanks, Ray. Nice to meet you, Justin. Good to have an opportunity to
I've already seen you before. I've been checking out your talks.
Okay. All right. That's good. Cool. Thanks. Yeah. So I guess you already have a bit of an idea in that area. So as kind of like Ray already said, I'm mainly kind of like focusing on kind of like the game development aspect of Bit.Country, kind of like the virtual world, and when you get into it and what that's kind of experience is like. So yeah, that's kind of like the main area where I'm putting my focus in. Of course, I do get involved in the other areas as well. So really trying to just make that kind of like virtual world, that metaverse part really fluid, very easy to get into, make it a great experience for people to get in and kind of set up the whole system so people have kind of a reason to come in and just keep going with the whole thing. So that's a lot of where my kind of like focus and effort is in terms of Bit.Country and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess that's kind of like the rough introduction there. I guess if do I go into maybe a little bit more detail about kind of my background, or do we think that we maybe leave
Go ahead, let me get everything. Everything you can disclose, okay?
Okay, cool. Thanks for that, Justin. Yeah, so I guess in terms of more about my background and story in the past and things like that, so it's a little bit of a more unusual one. The thing is that my parents are from New Zealand. I was born in Australia. I grew up in the Gold Coast. When I got to about 18 or so, came on over to New Zealand. Parents were always talking about coming back. So yeah, that was kind of like that part. Of course, during that time, it was a little bit of more difficult situation for the family. I guess I won't necessarily go into too much detail We had kind of like difficulty in terms of many on my brother's side. So yeah, that was kind of one of those things that he kind of like wasn't so well. So I had to spend quite a lot of time kind of like helping to take care of him, stuff like that. And that was kind of a good part of my childhood, is looking after him. And yeah, because kind of everything that was happening, I ended up being homeschooled, because it was kind of like not really possible for us to go into just a typical system and kind of have everything go that way. So yeah, that meant that things were kind of a little bit unusual, a little bit of a struggle, but we kind of got through it all in the end. And yeah, so that's kind of the early days. And during that time, of course, I always thought it was really cool and interesting seeing software and hardware and electrical things and all that kind of stuff. So when I was pretty young, I was already dealing with computers. So technically, I don't know for certain because my memory isn't that fantastic with the exact date and time, but I'm sure I was dealing with computers when I was about 3 or 4, because my dad was dealing with them quite a bit. And then in terms of programming more seriously, kind of got into that more around kind of like 13, 14. So kind of like dealing with C++, kind of already at that stage, kind of more into like game development stuff. So that was kind of like the serious starting into programming. Of course, I had actually started on it earlier than that because I was helping my dad with websites. So I had been doing things like JavaScript earlier, and C# and all that kind of stuff. And that was probably more around 10. But yeah, I've been kind of getting involved in a lot of different projects in terms of games and not games and things like that since then, pretty much. And dealing kind of like with C# around like 2009 and just getting into it further and further. So that was kind of that part. Of course, when I say we got through it, we kind of didn't entirely get through the situation with the family. Unfortunately, my brother passed. So yeah, that's all right. And yeah, so that was one part, of course, a hit for the family and something that we're quite upset about. At the same time, because of kind of the situation, it was also the reason why I could actually start to move forward and to do things as well. Because now I didn't have to spend all my time worrying about trying to take care of the situation and such. So yeah, it was kind of not great, and also kind of my opportunity to start moving forward. So yeah, that was kind of that part of the story. Then we started getting into kind of focusing on getting into career to a much greater level than I could do before. And yeah, ended up joining on with Ray, essentially, because he already dealt with, I guess maybe you already know about it, with Industry Connect and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah, so I ended up going through that, so that I could kind of like kickstart the whole thing. And yeah, when I got there, I got to interact with Ray and interact with Justin and other people on the team and things like that. So it was really cool to have this opportunity to actually kind of go further with what I had already had.
So you're like in that initial group of people. What was it, 130 something people?
No, I don't think it'd be in the initial group. I'm in a little bit later on in the whole thing. So
Okay.
when Ray started Industry Connect, it was quite a few years before I jumped on board. So I'm definitely not in the original group. My group that I joined on was actually around 2019. So it actually hasn't been too long since I jumped on board with that. Yes, but still, it was good to have that opportunity. So I was grateful, of course, for Ray having that, so I could kind of get started. And yeah, they were quite happy with how I was doing with everything. So I got the opportunity to get involved in the projects, which was really cool. And yeah, we started on kind of like the simpler projects, and now I'm involved with leading the game development for Bit.Country. So it's definitely been a really fun and exciting journey to be able to get into what I've always wanted to be doing since I was about 14.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. You know, I mean, I was looking at Decentraland and Upland. Please tell me it's going to be better than that.
Yes, that is the plan. The plan is that we really want to get Bit.Country to be much more about each community, something that really makes sense for them. You know, we don't want a situation where you've got one overarching community and you can't get enough of your own kind of flavor, your own kind of theme, your own kind of style, and what you're about. So yes, in that area, then I think that it's safe to say that it would be better, at least in my opinion, that it can be much more specific. If their community wants something a specific way, they have that freedom, they have that control to do those things in the way that they want.
Right. Right. Yeah, and that's one thing. That's one thing I was researching last night, where Decentraland actually has a peer-reviewed journal article. They have one, which was very interesting, as a matter of fact. So, but the thing I want to speak with you all about before you actually get into the story, because I looked at the white paper as well and started trying to pluck things out of that, was what do you want the theme to be? What do you want the positive impact to be? And I asked that because you already have the gamers. You already have those guys, right? This paper is going to be for the people that are going to come to you for the positive impact. So my ideas were centered around, so I just throw things out. That's the way I work, right? So I was thinking about where's my stuff at? So I have some ideas of building a more sustainable physical world with the blockchain metaverse, a case study of Bit.Country, right? So that's like more of a higher level, where people can actually benefit from interacting with people that they normally wouldn't interact with in the normal world, right? So now you're seeing people from different communities. Now you're able to communicate with people where you feel included, right? Where you feel welcome, where you feel like a family, right? Then I also said that, so we talk a lot in business about the quadruple bottom line. So if you've heard of people, planet, and profit, with the triple bottom line and corporate social responsibility and things like that. But there's a fourth pillar that we're just now starting to talk about within higher education, within academia, based on purpose. So we'll go in an organization and say, yeah, people, planet, and profit's good. Yeah, you're doing, but why'd you start this damn company? What's your purpose? Right? So whenever you told your story, that's why I asked you about your story. It's like, did you gravitate toward this project because you can make a positive impact to people? Right?
Yeah.
So that's the question I have for you all. What do you what positive impact? Yes, like the metaverse, there's only I think out of all peer-reviewed journal articles, there's maybe 30 that mention metaverses. Is it metaverses or is it metavi? What's the plural form?
Metaverses, yeah.
Okay. So there's very few research, based on the metaverses, and that's the differentiator, in my opinion. That's what's going to separate you all from this whole blockchain space, because this thing is going to get crazy. And I have people, asking me about it because people still don't understand it. But people understand Ready Player One. People understand Sim City, The Sims. People understand what's the other one? Second, what is it?
Second Life.
Yeah, people understand Second Life, but they're dumping money. They understand Fortnite, right? But they're pumping money into it and getting nothing in return. So that leads me to the next idea of you're introducing. So I did 5 TEDx talks on blockchain in 2019, right? And one of those talks was about the sharing economy. And we're seeing that with NFTs. And NFTs is a part of your metaverse, right? So it's like another idea is that you all are introducing the true sharing economy with this metaverse, right? And now also, based on how much data and information you give me, we can create multiple journal articles out of this thing. Because I just communicated with 3 journals last night. Told you I was doing my homework. I'm doing work for you, Ray and Shannon. I'm putting my work in. So
awesome.
I reached out to the Blockchain Research and Applications Journal, and they say they take a month to review and publish after I submit it, right? And then there's another one called Frontiers in Blockchain Journal. They say they take 90 days, but it could be longer. So we could get, we could hit that one journal. So there's 3 specific blockchain journals, But then there's computer science journals that take blockchain, articles. But then you also have the and you probably seen it, XR or yeah, AR XIV. So I think that one's ran by Cornell.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we pre-publish our research before it actually gets published.
Awesome.
So it's still academic, but it's separated. It's like pre-published in the ARXIV, but then there's the published blockchain journals.
Awesome.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is, this is going to be differentiated because anyone can throw up something on Medium.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Anyone can throw up something on Medium, but then once we get published, then you just pluck stuff out and say, this came from a peer-reviewed journal article on us.
Cool.
And that's huge. So I mean, that was my thoughts. And then you could also hit governance, because governance is a hot topic that we're trying to figure out within higher education as well. So that's just my thoughts. That's just where I'm coming from. And I just want to hear your thoughts on that, because we can roll out different articles, or we can just create like a 20-page journal article that include everything.
Yeah, I think we can do the small ones.
Yeah.
Like when we can focus one area and like a series of that, right? If that happens, you'll be ever the first person to do that. And then once we become really big, we're going to include your publication stuff in our official announcement. I think that will bring a lot of credibility, especially you look at our investors,
Mm-hmm.
the top guns in the world. So we're happy to work with you on that one as well. So yes, Justin, what's our purpose? That's something we talk about in our office every day. Let me tell you a story. The inception of this idea. I was born in China. I came to New Zealand when I was 18. There's a lot of paradigm shifts just inside me by just traveling and living in different world in the East, and then New Zealand is more like a state like a West. However, has a different kind of version. That's my background, and also come from a traditional Chinese family. Now I've been a Christian. Go to church, and also played my role as deacon on the board of the church for 3 years.
Really?
Yeah. So that's also gave me some paradigm shift in the
Is
knowledge.
Is it Pastor Ray?
No,
is
Pastor,
it Pastor Ray,
Deacon.
or is it Deacon Ray? Deacon Ray. Okay.
for 3 years. I've been through depression. I've been through successes. I led a team and I created a $2 multi-million business in the past. I was someone that wasn't able to speak in front of more than 3 people when I stand up. This is no far ago in 2007, to the point that I can make a presentation just like you on the stage, like a TEDx event. So been through a lot of different things. And then I developed a sense of purpose for me, for doing blockchain project. Money is one thing, but what drives me is that we will have an opportunity to create new opportunities, new waves in the Web3 movement, and how we do that, and what are things that we look targeting. Here's a story just happened last year. During the pandemic, there's about 1,000 people lost their jobs in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have the social welfare system like States or New Zealand. You can get government support. They have nothing, right? So what they do, this guy created a community and then, educate them saying, you can actually doing the mining, social mining in different metaverses, or in the traditional sense of games, right? In the Galaxy Infinity, in Decentraland, and Sandbox. And guess what? Those people can bring $500 US to the family and bring a meal to the table every month during the time. That's an amazing story. And we suddenly found not only we allow people to have a ready player kind of a life on Bit.Country, and also let them to create a legacy for now and onward, but also they can create new opportunities on Bit.Country to create new GDPs, allow value or access to value on this network. That means the poor and the rich. The rich want influence. They need a bigger community, wanting more and more people from different parts of the world to build inside this community, right? Want them to let it become their social token holder. That's what the rich want. Of course, they become richer as well, right? Ultimately, they need to do that. But the thing is that there will be no time constraint, no physical distance constraint. People from part of Asia, part of East Europe, part of Africa, part of America, part of everywhere can come in here for those new opportunities. So what is like, in each big country, you have DAO, right? The DAO encourages more token holders so this community be decentralized. And then you have your social token. Justin Kingdom have Justin Coin. But when you mint Justin Coin, you need to use our BCG, currently called the BCG, our native token as a collateral, as a backer, just like a gold, right? So for example, our council will create like a 1:100 ratio in this era. So that means for every 1,000 coin you minted, you need to lock away 1 BCG. So this is avoid scam. So again, that's one of the reasons. So generally speaking, we want to create a protocol platform for creating harmony and good behaviors. Okay, this is one. So this is avoid scam. And also you have a gamification engine just in your world to allow people, you set the rules how you can add value to our community. For example, if someone is coming every day for consecutive 7 days, I give you 1 Justin coin. You define it. You define what you want for your community. Or someone who bought 10 NFTs every month, I'll give some token back. Or someone built a really nice architecture, and then I want to reward that. So there's like dozens, hundreds of metrics allow you to define your KPI for your citizens, right? So basically, your KPI become the new opportunity for people from the lower economic regions, right? And every country will have different rules, and excuse me, every country will offer different value. Like Mr. Beast, he will have 10 million tokens of ours. His opportunity probably be bigger, and other people want to compete with him, want to reach more influence. They will compete with each other by, inviting people from different part of the world and creating new opportunities, basically earning opportunities, because they need to lock away our token, and their token will be floated on the DEX, decentralized exchange. They can change that to US dollars. So that's a real value there. So in a nutshell, what we want to do is to make three parties win. We make big country owner win by they can extend their influence, because money to them is important, but the feeling of being important and the bigger influencing is more important to them, right? So they need more people to come to the world. And to the users, which is like the residents or citizens in different big country, is that it's a new opportunity to them. It's a platform allow them to have access to value, right? And to us, to the network, of course, we're happy because we see thriving big countries grow and offer better opportunities for people. Like you said, this could make a real world better by having a metaverse in this new paradigm shift. So that's what we plan to do.
This is phenomenal.
Yeah.
This is crazy. And I think that, I don't know if it's like the quadruple bottom line, but I think that it needs to be centered around purpose. Right?
Yeah.
You're gonna get people outside of those who are already gonna be in, right? To do it just based on your story. Because go ahead.
Yeah, we already got 40,000 people sign up already for early access.
I signed up for everything.
Yeah, I saw you, ambassador. That's why you didn't ask for anything. I thought maybe give you some allocation, so that when when we can become really successful, you can be rewarded. So when you get a seed round, you almost guarantee making money. Trust me, you can just sell to friends. Hey, I got a seed round from big country. There'll be 1,000 people go to you. Hey, can I get like a $10 something? People just do that. So we want you bring to the journey. You said you watched our promo video 50 times, all the stuff. You are already onto this. Look, this is just one of our project in our initiative. I decided to spend the next 10 years of my life to creating
Build this
opportunities
out.
in different dimensions. That's my plan. That's why we acquired a domain name called the metaverse.network. So our plan is in the future, we set up a fund to help current metaverse like games to be blockchain ready. So they'll be all under our initiative, like a metaverse.network. Like, your project can be in the future if you can convince our council member, and we can invest, we can support, we can, we are the powerhouse of software developers, right? Because we run this whole school for Polkadot. And then we all creating infrastructures, like we also look at, this is all confidential, Justin, don't write in the paper. Metaverse of storage. Decentralized storage is kind of a very early stage now. We need a storage, decentralized storage just for metaverse. Allowed you to recording histories and play in time, playback of your civilization growth or anything like that. We also need confidentially, you'll be the first person heard this. We are creating like an initiative that allow you have an identity, a single identity management across different metaverses. At the moment you go to Decentraland, you are Justin there. You come to Bit.Country, you're another kind of entity, right? We're looking at a kind of currently we call them meta souls. This concept is allow you to have a single identity, but it can be impersonated into different characters, avatars in different world. However, your behavior, but the goal of that, we want to have a single place to manage your personality, avatars, and also single place to collect your credit rating, as a soul. So in the future, this is to avoid again social bullying, and also to fit in your context is social inclusion and diversification, because your behavior in metaverse matters. It's like your LinkedIn in the classic internet world. So basically, people need to gain experience and also stake your tokens to your profile so that you have more privilege in different metaverses. Because when you stake your token to yourself, that means if you do bad thing, you'll be slashed. That means I can make you to do more things in my metaverse. That's how our plan, this is in development, our plan to making the metaverse become a better world and educate people become a better person in the real world.
See, that's huge. And that, again, that goes back to purpose. That goes back to purpose. That goes back to that sustainability that I was talking about. Sustainability is just not environmental, right? It has a people aspect as well. It has the equality aspect as well. And that's why that whenever we spoke the first time, that's why I was so excited about this, because on the surface, you just see excellent graphics on your promo video. That's what got me excited initially. But then when I spoke to you, I said, man, this guy's amazing. It's like so and the thing, and that's why I say people are going to, people who aren't even gamers are going to invest because of you, because of your leadership, right? And they're going to believe in what you're doing, and to me that's huge, because I work with so many people within the industry, like within because I come from supply chain, and so many people don't understand blockchain. They don't want to understand blockchain. They still think it's a fad, right? People told me it was a fad in 2019, and then whenever I did those 5 TED Talks, I got the hush mouth, right? So I think that whenever you share your story and whenever we get this stuff out, that's whenever you're gonna get that buy-in. And I think that Coinbase went public, and now everyone's saying, man, this blockchain stuff is real. It's like this blockchain stuff is real.
Hey, when you speak next time, Justin, I found an easy way to explain to non-chain, non-crypto people about blockchain. Is I use analogy saying, internet is the highway of information, right? And the blockchain is the highway of trust and value. Yeah. And when we say now, metaverse will be highway of happiness and goodness. That's how we look at it. Because you see,
that's in the abstract.
Yeah, but when you're inside, at the end of the day, human being is after happiness, right?
You
All the
said
way
the
from
metaverse is the highway for happiness and goodness.
yeah, metaverse. We see that metaverse is the highway of happiness and goodness.
Okay.
For not necessarily to be good, but for us, our metaverse will be encourage goodness. Like information flow really fast to change the world. That's in 23, right? To year 2003. This year is the year, before the internet boom. This is the time. So that, you see that when the data flow very fast, among, our civilization, things changes. Like, can you imagine when trust and value flow extremely fast? What that means, even the wind is money. That's pretty much. And then we want to, to upgrade to the next level based on that, internet, blockchain, metaverse. What is that? Happiness. Like I watched the Ready Player One last night again. I just want to
How many times have you watched it?
Well, this is probably the second time on
Okay.
Netflix. Yeah, so that's I think the director of that can see that in the future. I got myself an Oculus 2 for Christmas. It's so immersive now, you know. And then we're gonna make a VR available, and the VR gonna be smaller, 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 and it'll be so immersive. You have your identity. You have a meta soul inside the metaverse, which is another career, another level of a relationship, your social relationship. But we encourage that for happiness and goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like, what I just thought about? People turn to, drugs and alcohol to escape and to get happiness and goodness. That's another study. Like, once this metaverse comes out, we could run a study to say, is this therapy? Is this metaverse therapy because you have an escape?
You're very smart, Justin. With just exactly, I talked to Shannon, Justin, the other Justin, co-founder, the other day. People's currently shortcut to get happiness is through drugs, right? Physical form. That's exactly. And if metaverse is the world, ideal world they want to experience, they can have a new opportunity relationship and new feelings there. Exactly. I didn't come out of the therapy concept, but I quite like what you say. If we can make it a VR, Shannon, like my son Danny and Jerry build a world. If you give them a VR, they can go into the world they built and then be able to talk to their people. I think it's gonna be really amazing and see. Again, we can connect with the other metaverses and have a kind of like a reunion. Of course, we have to use the way that human can understand, like a game fight or some kind of things. But they know there's a game. They fight for righteousness, that kind of things. But yeah, I like that therapy concept.
Yeah. I really see that. I really see a study where we could do that.
Mm.
So yeah, this is absolutely amazing. So are you good with kind of like, I know purpose, but would you see value in doing that quadruple bottom line where you talk about people, planet, and profit? Because I thought last time we said that there's like an environmental aspect to this as well, where you could kind of bring in.
Shannon, do you want to talk about what do you mean by quadruple? What does that mean?
So within business, there's a concept that we refer to as corporate social responsibility, where organizations should not only primarily focus on profit, they should
Like that,
also
yeah.
focus on people, their employees, and the stakeholders and the community and everyone around the globe, right? And then they should also look at the environmental aspect. So how are they ethically producing products, doing services, and things like that? So I speak at a lot of conferences, and I always say that because we ignored the environmental aspect, that's what led to the pandemic. Because of deforestation, right, in parts of the world, how are they able to get to the bats or the pendulum or whatever that little critter was called? It looks like Sonic the Hedgehog, It was because of deforestation, and these animals have nowhere to go.
Had to run
Right.
to your house.
Right. So that's how they were able to get this, and that's how all of these diseases. And I always tell people, this is only the beginning. This is only the beginning, because we have continued to ignore, climate change. Right. You got the Trumpers who think it's fake, who think it's not real. Right. And if you look at the polar ice caps are melting. And there are diseases that's been locked up for tens of thousands of years that are about to get exposed, and we don't have a cure for it, obviously. Right? So like, do you have any kind of aspect? And then profit is, your philanthropy and things like that. So that goes right back to your story that you shared, about people, giving money so they can have food on the table within the metaverse, right? People coming together, because whenever we have these drives and things online, there's all kinds of stories about about corruption and those people not getting money. So I'm doing research on Puerto Rico, because Puerto Rico got hit by 2 hurricanes like 3 years ago, right? 2 people with the government pled guilty for bribes and corruption to give these other organizations contracts in Puerto Rico, to get government contracts in Puerto Rico, right? And the people of Puerto Rico have only seen a certain percentage of that money that the government was supposed to give them, right? And like I said, I say, regardless of your political affiliation, I said Donald Trump went down to Puerto Rico, threw out a roll of toilet paper, and get the hell out of here with that bull crap. Right? Did nothing. To this day, there's still people in the mountains of Puerto Rico that don't have electricity. 2 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
So
that's a good one.
That's the environmental aspect of, if there's anything where you can like educate people, on the negative impacts, within the metaverse, that's where that quadruple bottom line is going to come in. But again, that's more business focused, right? That might go away from your target market, so maybe we shouldn't touch on that, and then just really focus on purpose, right? Because that purpose, I think, is huge, it's impactful. I could probably find a theory on that, somewhere around there to bring in that theoretical framework, from an academic perspective. So, I just want to get your thoughts on that and what you think.
Cool. I'll share something, Shannon, you can add your thoughts. Okay, I think we already had a lot of a discussion. So for a big country owner like Mr. Beast, for example, they come to create a big country can be in the name of creating new opportunities, right? And then you from the supply chain things, each layer of tier of a value store, you have a problem to transact. Whereas, they create a big country, meant they're a social token, create a new opportunity for those people who have access to value, bringing meal to the table. On top of that, there's no intermediaries to deal with. That means there's no chance of corruption. The value will be distributed by the blockchain logic, which is guaranteed, which is the code of law, right? The code itself is the law. I usually tell a story. This is not relevant to their social impact, but you can use this as an example.
I love stories.
Yeah, use a story as a function inside big country to see what they achieve in the Donald Trump situation. For example, in your big country, Justin Kingdom, you can creating a will for your nth grandchild. And then the children in between the nth, say the 9th grandchild, which is probably going to be 70 years, right? And the grandchildren in between, they cannot unlock that will because it's in a smart contract. You authorize the next generation, because every generation have incentives. They're incentivized to authorize, recognize the next generation. And this goes on and on. You organically have a family tree inside your big country. And then and that each generation is self-verified that can unlock certain tokens or NFTs in your virtual world. And you can do the same for NPO, donation, any kind of things, distribution of your value efficiently without time constraint, without physical distance constraint. And that's probably another study,
Yeah.
And then I posted another thing on the Twitter, and people quite like it. So in the metaverse, if people wanting to put the efforts in, the chance to be, they can be successful with a minimum amount factors of luck, because the code is the law. If you follow the code, the rules, you get that. Whereas in the real world, these guys want to do good things but be sued as a corrupter. That's ridiculous, right? Their law is very opinionated. Even by the best judge, they still like a human being. They're no better than machines in terms of judging, right? In saying of that, how we govern the whole thing, like in your Bit.Country, you have your own DAO, like a Justin Council, right? Your token holder will help to co-govern that. That means, with a machine law and a plus council law, you can blend in the whole real world scenario. So things can happen the way that, with the promise and also with the, our kind of human touch, in a way, because token holders have a say. Yeah. So Shannon, do you want to share a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ray. Yeah, so I was thinking of quite a few things, of course, while it's kind of all being talked about in terms of big.
Wait a minute, I need to get some more paper. Give me a second. This is crazy. This is absolutely amazing. All right.
Sure.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, all right. So yeah, some of the things that, of course, we've talked about a lot over the last year and kind of even longer about Bit.Country in terms of what we want to enable people to have and things like that is definitely like the opportunities, because of course I'm picturing that there's so many different things. So there could be people who are artists who are making art pieces. There can be people doing music. There could be people doing the 3D models that can go into the actual like metaverse part as well. So there's a lot of different, almost like industries, we'll say, where people can create those things and have another platform, another place where they can have a purpose or place to advertise or a place to sell and things like that. So we really see that there'll be a lot more opportunities in those areas for those people. It's not just going to be certain people. It's not just like the Bit.Country owner is the only people that benefit from the whole thing. It's not just the platform that benefits from the whole thing. So when people come into this world, if they are really good at some skill like music or something like that, then they can create that and they can sell that there, so that people could put that into their world to create the theme, to create the atmosphere that they're really after. If they want a relaxing style theme in their Bit.Country or in a particular area, they can get those kind of assets and put them in there. And it really is also kind of like that being able to let people have more of a share in the whole thing. Because with the local token, the social token, it's really a way for the Bit.Country owner to be able to share the effort and the value with the community. So it isn't a case of how maybe with other platforms, maybe with like a Facebook group or something like that, for example, that people would be creating posts and creating all this kind of content, which does have its value to it. It has its time, it has its effort, it has its value that it brings to, in this case, Facebook. This value would still exist when people are creating on Bit.Country instead, by going into the world, by creating the content and such, that the Bit.Country owner can reward them for that. And basically they receive something that will increase in value as time goes by. They can use to get real value out of their work. They are more or less being paid for what they're doing when they create that content, when they do the things in the world. So when you have kind of like your incentive system, your KPIs and all of that, when they're doing things that helps your Bit.Country to grow, you'll be rewarding them and paying them for their effort, paying them for what they've done. So we really see that as quite an awesome opportunity, because how else do you kind of like get involved in this group, this community, and kind of putting this effort in and necessarily get an equal share of value out, or value that you know that you're specifically getting out of it. So that was one of the really big things, of course, that we've talked about a lot. And I think that's kind of like really cool to see that we could have like an art gallery for some artists to put their pieces there for anyone to kind of come and check out and things like that. So that was kind of like one of the big things there. So I think that that could, to an extent, touch on, I guess, like people and purpose, right? Because it gives people another way of being able to support themselves, to have a way where they can apply themselves. If maybe they were artists and they weren't really sure how to find a place where to start, here's a new open market for them to get involved in, a new place where they can find that purpose for their lives, where they can apply their skills to be able to help make everything better for everyone, essentially. So that, of course, is one part. Ray already touched on it as well, is really taking advantage of kind of like the economic system as well to encourage good behavior in people. So using this protocol, which has kind of the decentralized nature and things like that, the code executes part of it, well, most of it actually, in terms of making sure people are doing what's good for other people, what's good for the Bit.Country, what's good for the platform and stuff like that. And also even having kind of like the governance part as well, where people can potentially be, if one Bit.Country is really not going against the, going for the whole style that's best for the platform, promoting the wrong ideas, then the governance has the ability to be able to kind of push them back into the right direction by potentially slashing any stake they have.
Yeah, can you expand? Can you kind of like break down the governance model? Because that was the one question that I had.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And how you came about, and how you came about it. Like, was it based on the Polkadot governance model, or you created your own governance model?
Okay, yep. So it's definitely inspired by the Polkadot one. So the thing is that we had already been talking about the idea for a while, even before we necessarily knew about Polkadot and how they were doing the whole thing. But we really like kind of how they work with the whole system, one in terms of the economics and also in terms of governance. And we really wanted to just make sure that there was a system that people have the way to be able to have a say in how the whole platform should be working. If everyone feels like that this particular direction or this particular change doesn't necessarily promote the right ideas, then people have that ability to have a say in that they can put the value of and their commitment that they put into the platform, they can use that as their kind of like weight towards voting for something. So really, it's a kind of encouraging people that get involved in it. So the more you get involved, the more ability you have to be able to have your say on things. And of course, the more you'll care about making sure the platform does well. And that's kind of like where the economic system comes in as well. If the platform is heading in a direction that's not good, then everyone's value will be likely getting worse. The platform's heading in the wrong direction. So it's kind of like this like balancing thing in a way that for it to do better, every time it does better, the value goes up. If it does badly, the value goes down. So of course, people are incentivized to make sure they vote for the things that will help the platform to do better. That's kind of like the whole thing as well of like pushing people in the right direction in terms of doing the right thing. If they're not doing the right thing, then they're going to be hurting everyone's in terms of the value, in terms of the platform, in terms of what's possible and things like that. So Ray, do you want to maybe add a little bit more in terms of the governance and stuff like that? In terms of the platform and such?
Yeah. So we have two tiers of governance, which is DAO, right? Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Let's just use DAO. It sounds pretty cool. The network level DAO, we govern the treasury, our development, and also the whole network behavior. You know, if any big country doing bad things, we use the DAO to slash them, right? Of course, there will be stake feature in the future. In your own Justin Kingdom, you have your own DAO. Initially, it will be governed by you. I mean, mostly by you because you're the largest token holder of your own, right? But because earning a token over the time, the DAO will become very decentralized, so people can carry on legacy forever, right? Mm-hmm. Or you can leave some will for your second, third, fourth generation of your family, the Goldstone family, to have some tokens so they have a seat in the DAO, you know. So that DAO is managing internal kind of behaviors, like your world, nobody doing spam, behavior, you know, all that stuff. And then we have a kind of self-governed DAO concept as well, which is at a player layer. Like you as a like an avatar inside a metaverse, we call it the soul, meta soul. You stake yourself to it, and then so have a level of self-governance using economic incentives. And all these DAOs together is to co-govern the whole network to encourage good behavior, and then So that's pretty much what we do.
How are you going to kind of mitigate the malicious behavior, I would say? You know, what kind of measures do you have in place for that?
So fundamentally, people have we had to use the people's natural kind of instinct, right? People fear of losing value, like everybody who feel better by lost money, by losing money, all right? So that's a genuine desire, and then people also have a desire, want to be influential, and then have privilege, right? So we use this two human protocol that we've been made that way, right? Everybody, doesn't matter where you come from, right? So that we want to implement a protocol that you can stake value to your profile, to your soul, right? So if you're doing bad, you potentially, that's something you lock away, you can't really take it out. If you're doing bad things, you'll be slashed, or slash means you have punishment. It's like a fine automatically taken out, but that will be executed by the decentralized governance. However, the higher staking amount you have, the more privileged reputation you will have in the metaverse. So that will encourage them to say, I have a genuine desire, I want to be a, in the real world, people see their watch, their suit, the way they talk, but in the metaverse, it's about how much you stake and what's your reputation, all right?
Right.
Because I'm willing to take a risk for my behavior. That's pretty much the concept. Yeah. And then that's just one thing. However, how can we measure that? It has to be using the DAO structure I explained to you, Bit.Country DAO. If someone reported you, and then they see your profile and history, all that stuff, they make a judgment saying this person is seriously being a bully, with clear evidence, and then the community DAO can vote, the slash will happen to that person. Yeah. But the chance is going to be small, because can you imagine you carry $10 million in your suitcase, Justin, walk around in the mall? Are you going to be doing crazy stuff? Unless you come out from robbing a bank, right? But your genuine money you earn through your professionalism, you carry 10 millions. That would you just in a crowd and then start yelling and fighting people? You don't want to do that. Right?
But I'm just envisioning that people are going to try to test the system. In my opinion, they're going to try to test the system. They're going to try to break the system.
Yeah, I mean, we can't. I mean, we have to, mimicking the real world, but also do our best to make people feel they need to want to do good things. All right. I mean, at the end of the day, they have the free will in terms of what they want to do. The thing is, we can only do our best to use their desire to mitigate it.
Right.
However, if you have a meta soul profile, which is going to be used in different metaverses, this is like your LinkedIn profile. You wouldn't want to ruin it, right?
That's a valid point. That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
So we give it time for your age, for your. So this project, just confidentially, we haven't made it public. It's called the Meta Souls. So basically, you have one soul in the Meta Soul network, and in each platform you have a different avatar. But however, they all link to your soul. That means your soul is your LinkedIn profile in the metaverse. And then you can stick yourself to it. So you want to creating experiences, portfolios, recommendations, high reputations for your lifetime. Otherwise, in the future, in the metaverse, if you don't have this level of reputation, you wouldn't be able to get in.
True.
Yeah.
So you're saying to get into another. You're saying to get into another metaverse. You're saying that you're going to have to kind of send an entry request, kind of like LinkedIn, to get in.
Or like you go to a network, in the future, I believe there's some network you can log in, use a LinkedIn profile, but with this number of connections, you can do that, right? We can create like the good people club metaverse. Only people with 7 above ratings can come in.
I want to be a part of the Raid metaverse so I can get in anywhere.
Yeah.
So I want the all access pass.
you need like a 9.5, and then stake with at least $100,000 in your profile, so that I know you're gonna behave. You
Right.
carry a suitcase with money, you're gonna behave. Yeah.
Right.
Again,
Right.
that's a social experiment, right? They're still gonna be bad people, but in this way, what's the motive? What's the motive to bully other people while you're putting yourself at a risk? That's why on Facebook you see a lot of bullies, but on the LinkedIn you don't see many.
That's true. That's
Right.
true. And like on Clubhouse, you've seen some, but very few.
But
Right.
again, those some, if they carry some tokens, stick to a profile, everybody hates that. They were just slashing that, they'll be gone, right? They can't join in here.
Yeah. See, I love that approach. I love that approach. But so what are you all like? So what are you all doing with UC Berkeley?
We are
Within that
part of
program?
the blockchain accelerator. They accepted us. There are more than 200 applications from different teams globally. They selected about 10%, so we are one of them. Yeah, which is pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but like, what are you all? You're all just going to continue to build out the solution, or like what's that entail?
They offer like connections, knowledge sharing, and in terms of capital raise, and also a lot of different sessions, just like knowledge sharing. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, but I think that, I mean, based on all this information, I want some more. I want all you can share, all you can actually put and include in the paper. But again, once the stuff gets done, I'll be pinging you on LinkedIn and say, can I talk about this? You're like, no. Okay, fair enough. But I'll send it over to you. Of course, have you all review it before everything gets sent off. But at the end of the day, how did all of this come about? Because this stuff is crazy.
How? What do you mean? How does Inception?
Like some of these concepts. So like with the wheel you talked about, how that come about? How did the meta soul come about? Like, how did you all think of that? Like, did you envision it, or you found it like from like a movie, or like what?
I think it's because of course, I'm the kind of a crazy idea person on the team. It's through my personal experience. I've been through a very tough.
That's what I wanted to get to. That's what I wanted to get to.
I come to New Zealand when I was 18, don't know what to do. I started doing bad things, like go to the casino. One night I made like $10,000, $30,000. The other day I lost all, and met some bad people relationship wise. I've been through the painful kind of life at reached the bottom of my life. And if I didn't get a chance to meet my wife, I'll probably go further, become a drug dealer. It's even possible. I haven't done that. Okay, I didn't do that. And I've been working. It just doesn't fulfill me. I feel that there's a much bigger purpose calling. I know I come to the whole thing. I like we are kind of financially independent. We are not doing this to pay us a good salary, just for the reason that we're already beyond that. I think it's fun to think something that's really interesting and make a big impact. All of a sudden, I don't know, it's through my life, I was kind of the person sitting in the corner. I want the whole world ignore me. For such a long time, I can't speak in front of people. I already run away in that situation. I don't want to be noticed. To a point, I feel like to influence. I think the day happens that in the day that I finish my work, I can drive to home, but instead I change the direction to a Toastmaster event, and on the day I just volunteer to go on the stage. At the time it's crazy. It's just like it's impossible. From such a person that you want the whole world ignore you to you change the direction, drive to the Toastmaster, and then on the first day you walk to the stage, you want to talk something, And I just did it. I don't know why. Maybe because that I had too much coffee. Or I think it's I don't know. It's just maybe, and the whole idea it's come from where they come from, because I'm a big fan of sci-fi movie. I feel the touch between civilizations, especially I'm seeking for alien civilization. I want to see what's the reality of our world.
Mhm.
I want to see that we will come from. That's why I study Bible. I want to see what's the purpose and how we being made. What's the movie Westworld, and also like a Black Mirror, the episodes in a Real Player One, Matrix, and all the sci-fi movies all come together. I think this is the combination
Mhm.
that Bit.Country can, especially with the blockchain in the metaverse, the value is so real, but the world is surreal. So that's all linked up together. I think fundamentally is you gotta find something to do for fun, right?
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah,
not work. If you have fun doing it, it's not work. I'm
yeah,
so I'm so cr- I'm so crazy. Teaching is not work. It's fun. Research
it's
is
fun.
not work. It's fun, right? I'm just sick like that,
Yeah,
right? I love to learn. I
yeah,
love to build my
exactly.
knowledge. So so yeah, and the reason why I asked you that question and you actually did it. I think the why and how is because it's your purpose. And all this ties back to what we initially talked about. And I think that that quadruple bottom line, I think is where we could go. Because like I said, yes, that's a business concept, but you're teaching people within this world how to create. Don't be workers, be creators, be innovators, right?
Yeah.
That's what, based on what I listened to, what I heard, that's what I think, right? And people are going to be all over this, in my opinion.
Mm. And also just try to avoid the concept that we try to be God or anything. We are not. We're just trying to using protocol, creating a better experience for people because I'm easily hurt. People sometimes doing bad things. I see that on the news and stuff. I just feel really hurt personally. I want to a world like pretty much like in New Zealand. New Zealand is, just in one whole border open when you come in. New Zealand is very peaceful. It's everybody, the equality level is extremely high. This, like a racism, stuff, it happens everywhere. But New Zealand is like the backyard of heaven. You can see.
Shannon, are you in New Zealand?
Yeah, I'm in New Zealand.
Okay, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for my invite so we can collaborate. I need an excuse to come to New Zealand.
Yeah, easy, man, easy. And then New Zealand is kind of maybe a lot of the mindset is really come from our life in New Zealand. It's a peaceful little world, have a background of Lord of the Rings fantasy world, Avatar, a lot of stuff produced here. It's a small but very deadly, I mean deadly in a good way. So uh, yeah, I think kind of the good things is like a utopia feeling, right, Justin? You probably sense that in this world can be a utopia feeling. New Zealand's like that. New Zealand's like that.
Interesting. Yeah. So, all right, I'm just going to run through the case study. You have anything else to share? Because this is
I'm not
excellent.
done. You listen a lot already.
Oh,
Shannon.
I'm not done listening. Shannon, do you have anything else?
I mean, it's kind of more just continuation of what Ray already said. I still feel like a lot of the ideas, a lot of the things that we've come up with, a lot of the ideas that Ray has shared and we've kind of like talked about and kind of like decided, yeah, let's see about going further with that is we really wanted to take advantage of kind of like what's possible with blockchain, the whole economic system, the whole governance system and all that to be able to encourage the right behavior. So things like Metasol and all that kind of stuff is a potential way of solving the problem, like you said, of how do we make sure that people are incentivized and to do the right thing and disincentivized from doing the wrong thing? How do we make sure that people don't want to be some malicious actor to go and try and mess with governance in a way they're not supposed to and mess with this when they're not supposed to? So yeah, we're kind of like often discussing that, when we come up with a system of, this system can do this and say, okay, well, how could people break that? How could people try and twist this thing so that it doesn't work the way that it's supposed to and stuff like that? So it's always kind of like this process of a lot of discussion of, okay, we want to have the system to make sure, okay, when they do this behavior that's beneficial, we reward them. When they do this behavior that's bad, then they are slashed in some way. And how do we make sure that that works in such a way that it's not capable of being bypassed and all these kind of different things? So I would say that that's kind of another area where a lot of these different parts come from. That's another area where a lot of discussion happens of, okay, so what can we do about this? How can we make sure this part works right? And that discussion has led to quite a few different things, even like, for example, like the continuum part, the good neighborhood protocol.
I was looking at that continuum up here.
Yeah. So like,
can you expand on that continuum? Can you expand on that?
Okay, sure. So maybe Ray could add a bit more afterwards. So with the continuum part, I guess we can kind of explain it and view it a little bit like a world map in a way. So we don't necessarily want to be just viewed as just a plain old map, because it doesn't quite work like that. But it is a place where people can auction for a spot on the continuum. And in that spot, they can put themselves as a bit country. They can put their bit country there. So I guess
like a parachain type auction.
I guess it's a little bit like that in a way. Yes.
It's the same but different.
it's the same but different. Yeah. So people, there will be a different number of spots, and we're looking at kind of like an algorithm that will kind of determine that. But basically, we want to have some degree of the spots are determined by the number of bit countries and a number of different factors and things like that. That would determine the supply of spots. Then people would auction for the spot to be able to put their bit country there. And kind of as part of the process, we have our good neighborhood protocol. And that would be when someone wanted to go into a spot, that the neighboring spot would be able to have a say on whether or not they wanted that person to jump in, for example. So if you have your neighborhood that's more like, we are all the non-profit organizations, and then some random bit country that does not fit into that whole style tries to jump in there, they would say, I think your bit country doesn't fit with this style. It doesn't fit with this neighborhood. You're promoting a completely different idea. So they could say, no, we don't want this to go forward.
Okay.
So yeah. So that's kind of like the good neighborhood protocol in terms of that, so that we would have the different bit countries almost like clustering together in terms of a similar style. You know, it could be like Ray and friends, and over there we could have Justin and friends and stuff like that. In terms of the neighborhood.
Wasn't that kind of although they may be behaving, you know, wouldn't that kind of create these pockets? Like these pockets where people are going to, like, let's just say that you have like an early contributor that just behaves, but they kind of they're plotting or planning, right? So let's just say that you have like a just I just throw it out there, like a neo-Nazi or something, right? That behaves, but then they bring their friends in and they say behave until we build up. Right. It's like the insurrection on the Capitol, right? They were behaving for a long time, but they were organized and it was obvious, and then they pounced. So it's like that, right? So do you I'm just being negative Nancy, but I'm here in the States, so I know how these people think.
Yeah.
You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, we know what you mean. So that, again, was one of the classic discussion points when we were talking about the whole thing, is how do we make sure that it's not going to be kind of taken advantage of again? And again, that's where the governance from the platform level kind of comes into it. So if this group of people are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, then there's a way for the platform as a whole to say, something's not going right here.
Okay.
And they can slash all of them. So they could go through the process. If everyone's like, yeah, something's not right here, they could all go to the platform governance, go and indicate or report that kind of a cluster of bit countries. And then there would be a case of, okay, you know, they are genuinely doing something. We'll slash them, or we'll hide them. We'll do whatever we need to remove them essentially from the platform. So as it's blockchain, we can't outright destroy them. Their bit country is still theirs. But as a platform for them to kind of be visible on, then our platform can say, we are not going to let you have a spot here that would be ruining the image, the purpose, the point of BitCountry in terms of having a place for people to join in where they're supposed to be supporting each other and doing good for the platform. So if there was that situation, then yes, they would be essentially removed. from the whole platform to stop anything. And again, that could still lead back to things like the Metasol process as well, that those kinds of actions could be leading to bad marks on their Metasol.
Your soul is dead.
Yeah, so they would be essentially marked, and that could have a lot of long-term consequences to other areas as well. So with losing actual potential money and the reputation effects and things like that, again, we really want to make sure that we're taking advantage of blockchain to give us that power, to give us the ability that the community as a whole has the ability to make sure that no one person can do things that they're not supposed to be doing, essentially.
Right.
So let economics, let Metasol and blockchain, it's immutable, let this decentralized nature be the thing that makes sure that people do what they're supposed to be doing and not do the things that are bad for everyone as a whole, basically.
Right. Now, will you have like any kind of like council or something like so like would you have like a council similar to what Polkadot has, where you have 5 or 8 people, whether they rotate or not, that kind of governs the things that.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Essentially that's the idea. So of course the specifics in terms of how many and all that kind of stuff, we're constantly kind of discussing how that work. But a little bit like what Ray said, we have kind of like the multiple levels. So like the Bit.Country itself has its own council, has its own local governance. They determine things like, how much do we reward our residents? Do we expect residents to apply before they can enter the Bit.Country, and all these kind of different things. So some Bit.Countries are 100% public, some Bit.Countries are more like, it's a club, you become a member through application or something like that. Then there's the platform level, and they work on kind of different levels. The platform can't force a Bit.Country to do something as such. So if the Bit.Country is a restricted access, they need membership or something like that, that is up to that Bit.Country to determine. The platform one does things on a larger scale. So they might say, actually, your Bit.Country is promoting really bad things. We don't want anything to do with that. They can hide it. They can remove it from the platform, but they can't force the incentives or the scheme underneath to kind of like change. That's kind of still at the Bit.Country level. So the council has a lot of power, but they don't necessarily mess into the Bit.Country level as such. But of course, like I said, we have kind of like that whole system that if the council determines that your Bit.Country is doing the wrong thing, that they can still punish you for it, but they can't like outright change all your rules and laws and things like that. So that's kind of the idea in the process. And again, when it comes to the council and stuff like that, the whole goal with kind of any project is that we want it to be as decentralized as possible. We want it to be as diverse and everything as possible. So we want, and it's something that we've talked about a lot, is how do we make sure the council stays good? How do we make sure that all these things stay proper as well? And we want to make sure that everyone's kind of like held accountable in any kind of position. So even kind of like in a council position, that there's no way that, let's just get all of our buddies together and make one big council and now we can do whatever we want or something like that. Again, it's about everyone should ideally be kind of like a observer or someone that's kind of like outside of it. So if they're voting on, did this Bit.Country do the right thing or this Bit.Country do the wrong thing and so on, that they haven't got any kind of conflict of interest, that they haven't got any situation where they think, I'll say yes even though I shouldn't and all that kind of stuff. So that's another area that we're kind of spend a lot of time talking about. But yeah, essentially there'll be council members. They will be kind of like the Polkadot system, kind of like nominated, and then they get in and potentially cycled out and all that kind of stuff. And they have the ability to kind of do some of the process in terms of the platform. But then a lot of it is like the referendum, everyone just kind of gets involved and votes on the different aspects and stuff like that as well.
Okay. And then, so I see the supply of spots, but I'm not really following that one too much.
Yeah. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, we want to make sure that on the continuum, it's kind of one thing that we're looking at, because it's always kind of like an iterative process when we're looking at it. So with the continuum, when people get on there, there's kind of like some degree of a limited supply of the spots on the continuum where you can put a Bit.Country. So it's not necessarily a case of there's 1,000 Bit.Countries, all 1,000 could go on the continuum, although we are still kind of looking at the exact specifics of that part. but yeah, we were looking at that. We would do kind of, if there's 1,000-bit countries, there would be a certain number of spots. Maybe the amount of spots would be changing over time, and people could auction for them, purchase them, and then put their bit country there. And to an extent, getting on the continuum would, one, provide benefits to the bit country, and two, it would also be a little bit like the higher quality bit countries on the platform as well. That's the goal of the whole thing, is that with the commitment and the investment and the dedication to get themselves onto the continuum, that they're kind of like already gone through a bit of a process to get there. They should be more invested in the platform. They should already be doing better. And it's kind of like, if you want to see the best bit countries that Bit.Country has to offer, you should find them on the continuum. So that's kind of like that thought process again of using that kind of protocol and that system to try and make sure that we have the high quality people going where they should be going, where people can see them easily and get involved and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Excellent. And then for the marketplace, are you creating your own NFTs? Or are you going to bring in NFTs from, will people be able to bring in their own NFTs from external sources?
Yep. So yeah, that was kind of one of the deciding factors for choosing Substrate and Polkadot when it came to building Bit.Country. So we want to make sure that, one, if they want to create their own NFTs on the platform, that we have a space for them to do that. If they already have their NFTs and they've created somewhere else, Ethereum or some other blockchain or some other parachain or anything like that, we want to make sure that we can support the ability to kind of bring that over. So if they've already created somewhere else and they want to be able to bring it to Bit.Country, we already have kind of a process in place, and we're still kind of like working on that to make it so that they can just import it essentially. And then it just works like a normal one that you create inside the platform essentially.
Excellent. I love that. Yeah, that was one of my questions, why Polkadot, but that was a primary reason.
That's not, it's one of the big reasons.
Okay.
We also were looking at it because they brought about the cross-chain communication, which is part of the reason why we can import NFTs. And that makes it so that we can interact and interop much more easily with other blockchains. So that's already one of the big reasons why we wanted to choose it. And they also kind of like took a different approach to how do you develop features? How can you add your own runtime logic for blockchain? So if we were to choose something like Ethereum, we had, because originally we were looking more at Ethereum and stuff, it had a lot of problems that we couldn't achieve what we were looking for without it becoming kind of prohibitive. Because we'd have to create multiple smart contracts. Every time you do something, you have to pay a gas fee. The gas fee is getting higher in Ethereum. We have no way of saying that, you know, certain things should be cheaper than others. We couldn't outright control some of those aspects. So that was another reason why we chose Polkadot, we chose Substrate. It allows us to have more control over how the protocol work. We can make sure that some parts are free. They don't cost anything if in certain situations. We can make it so that some parts have a higher cost to it. We have more control over how the governance works and everything else. So that was really one of the big things as well that made us choose Substrate and Polkadot, so that we could have that control that we need, so that we could develop the whole protocol the way we needed it to behave and work.
Excellent. All right, let me see here. Just scrolling through the white paper, just browsing. All right. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much. Oh, are you thinking about like you ever thought about like a mobile application like Upland's done, like in the future?
Yeah, we've thought about quite a few different paths, as I think Ray probably would have shared with you, that we're looking at VR definitely in the future. We are thinking about potentially maybe even a desktop app. We're still thinking about that in terms of maybe it could go that bit further in terms of the experience. And yes, mobile is also another one that we're kind of thinking of, how could that kind of system work someday in the future as well. But definitely at this stage, we really want to just focus on the web one, because that kind of gives us everything and allows us to have kind of the best experience. And one of the key things, make it fast, make it easy for people to get in. And web gives us that at this stage.
Now, is that something I can put in a paper as a roadmap item or no? Like the VR and.
Yeah, I think VR could probably go in.
What about desktop or mobile?
Do you think we could add those in as well, Ray? I mean, I know we want to look at it. Do you think we mentioned
which one?
the desktop and mobile part for the roadmap?
We haven't decided the desktop mobile yet, but
right.
you
I'll leave it out.
can say that we want to creating the access, allow people to have access anywhere, everywhere, even in somewhere in a place without internet, they can use Starlink,
That would be huge.
yeah. So it's already
Even without
happening. My
access.
friend, like a retail founder of Akala, he bought a Starlink. He lives on a farm. The internet is not so good. He got a Starlink, like good weather, got 2 gigabytes per second. But if it's cloudy days, 200 megabytes, pretty good. Yeah.
Interesting. So even without access, excellent. So anything else you can share? I know we've been on here for a long time. I apologize, but this is amazing. This is amazing.
We appreciate that too, Justin. And
I can't thank you enough for this. But so Shannon, I did speak with Ray. So me and Don Trail and I are soon. We spoke with Ray about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It could have been a month. I don't know. But so one thing we're working on is we're developing, as Ray put it, a baby Kusama. But we're creating it within higher education institutions, because so there are a lot of students. Like I said, I teach a blockchain master's program at here in the States, and all I talk about is blockchain and AI within my supply chain classes. So I want students to be able to learn about this and have a safe place to learn, and a safe place to practice, and a safe place to make mistakes, right? So we're trying to create a test net within higher education. Actually, so I actually paid out of my, I have a book published on enterprise resource planning applications, and the proceeds from that book go to scholarships. And I'm sending two students to the substrate training class that's coming up. And also, and then I got 3 more that I'm going to do. And I think that Hutch said that they may give us a couple scholarships, so we're essentially creating an incubator. We're creating an incubator for Polkadot, So that's one thing we're doing. Also, Ray, that's another thing I want to talk to you about, in that we're trying to create like foundations of blockchain with Polkadot like type certifications. We're trying to create a Rust certification, and I was wondering like, how did you get approval for that through Parity for you to offer that?
Well, that was a long process. It's more about how many years we've been operating, to see our reviews, to do DD. We have about 400 reviews, 4.9 stars. And also we have
I'll just have you run it. I'll just run it through you. I don't care about the money. I just want these people to get the knowledge and get certified.
Yeah. We can add you as part of the member to use this brand. Instead of creating another branch, you just it's very hard, because this whole thing is co-founded by our Akala team as well. Yeah, so they are the top 1 project on Polkadot. So this kind of reputation, they're also the council member of Polkadot. So I mean, sorry, I missed that. I was chatting with one of the investors. So you want to inviting people to join the program, or you want to create a new incubator program? What's your?
No, I'm creating my own. So if you go to sidtech.ai, I'm putting in the chat, SYDTEK. Those are universities that already have that. I'm gonna start talking about Polkadot and start training students within blockchain. So
this is your website. Is that?
Excuse me?
This is your website?
Yeah. So we're building it out. I just got some people to try to create a promo video. You got me hooked on the promo video. So we're actually starting to upload educational videos just on blockchain. I'm pulling in every single TED talk on blockchain. We're going to have that up there. I have a lot of substrate recordings out there and things. That's the plan. Substrate videos, Polkadot videos, just so people can get educated on this platform, because I think it's the future, right?
Okay.
So So, like I said, we're trying to create an incubator program, not just for programmers, because my vision is, the decision makers, the people that write the checks, the investors, they need to be educated on this as well. So
Good.
we have a lot of interest in this. I just had a call with students from from King's College in London. They actually have the largest blockchain club in the UK. I spoke with the president a couple of weeks ago. He's
Awesome.
I think he's from the Philippines or something like that. But I'm focused on students. I'm focused on students that do not have experience, because I'm actually running a test to see if I can get someone from 0 to 100. On Substrate, on Polkadot, so we can start rolling this thing out. Because again, I'm in the business space, and Polkadot's really the only platform that's going to be able to address, a number of use cases within the industry. So that was my mindset. That was my thought process. I'm about 60% done with the white paper, so I'd be honored if you could just take a quick look at it, shoot holes in it, see where the thought process, see where we're going in the thought process. But again, the ultimate goal is just to educate people and try to get some developers out of this, and I can send them your way.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to support your initiative. So your goal is to help. So the SciTech, right? SciTech. SciTech. What does that stand for? Seed.
That's my daughter's name.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Sydney. Oh, great. So this is a software, or this is a DAO, or?
So it's going to be more of a test net. It's going to be a test net for people, for students to actually test in and develop.
Okay.
So we're going to try to train people on Rust, so they can create smart contracts. Because do you know of it? You know of any projects that are going to be developing smart contracts on Rust?
Yeah. So like Moonbeams or Plasm, they're doing that.
Moonbeam. I just spoke with Moonbeam. They're just doing the EVM thing, the bridge with Ethereum.
Oh, maybe the Plasm.
Well, Plasm might be, because I spoke with Moonbeam a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and yeah. So you want to you are running an incubator, right?
Yeah.
SciTech, the incubator, to help people to understand how do you commercialize it.
We just started a couple weeks ago. You're the first person we told about it whenever you were on the phone with Soon.
Yeah. So you want to get some people who are interested in talking to you guys, potentially can come up some good projects, ideas.
Yeah, good projects, ideas. I think the first step is to try to get people up to speed with Rust. So we can start creating a foundation for smart contracts in Rust. So we can build those out. And then, if we have interest, I mean, we're not selling anything, right? We're just training people and educating people, right? But again, it's also educating people on financial literacy, because we're going to have a token, and we're also going to, we're going to get a lot of interest within higher education too. So like I said, I'm teaching people at Penn State, Georgetown, Davenport University, University of Cumberland. And then I spoke with another individual. So another individual in Europe, he creates training, but he creates training for like Bitcoin, Ethereum. He doesn't have anything for blocks for Polkadot yet. But I was like, dude, that's almost impossible to keep up with as many updates as each one of those applications are going to have. So we're just going to focus on one solution. We're just going to focus on Polkadot, and we're just going to try to create future developers and future innovators within the Polkadot ecosystem. So that's where we're coming from.
Beautiful. Yeah, I think interesting. And I see your vision now. You want to set up a test net, inviting people comes in, use your test net to creating new things. I think eventually it's a good thing that you can pick on some project talent to work with your vision, or you support their vision.
And we're gonna do a bunch of hack because we're connected with universities. We can do hackathons because Penn State just did Hack PSU where they do AI. Amazon and Google sponsor that. So Amazon and Google kind of sit back in the shadows and they pluck sophomores like left and right. You know, I mean, just imagine you're a 19-year-old getting offered 120,000. Yeah, I think you're gonna take it. You know, so that's essentially what they do. But I think that we can do a number of hackathons at these universities that we're going to start to connect with.
Cool, that's awesome. So let us know how we support you. I think you need some kind of I'm not sure if the Web3 grant can support this initiative, especially when you do this for NPO purpose, like you don't charge people for anything. It's more like an incubator. I still categorize as an incubator.
That's all it is. It's an incubator.
Or like a launch pad. Or
That's what it is. That's what it is. We're gonna try to get all that stuff. All that stuff's outlined within the white paper. We're gonna have a token because for some institutions they're gonna want to say, okay, what do we get from it? Okay, here's some tokens. Oh, okay, thank you. when do you want to roll this out?
It's a DAO actually. It's a DAO incubator.
Yep.
So DAO can use the token can use for governance.
Yep. So I think that because like I said, I was working at the University of Cumberland, and we use IBM Hyperledger to train people. So they have to create a blockchain within using IBM Hyperledger. But my thought is these students, they're not going to be at $1 billion company that's going to be using IBM Hyperledger, right? They're going to be going to organizations that's going to be using Ethereum. They're going to be using the Solidity and things like that. So IBM Hyperledger, whenever we go through this, that's not going to provide value to these students once they get out. So that's where I come from, and that's where that was my reasoning and justification whenever I had to get approval for that capstone class, for the last class before the students graduated, and that's why they accepted it. And again, it's higher education, so they had no clue. Right. So again, I think Polkadot's within the University of Cumberland's for good. Hopefully I can transition from, I don't know if IBM had some investment within University of Cumberland to use Hyperledger. I'm still trying to figure that out. But again, like I said, all they did was research Polkadot in their last class before they got out. So that's what they're going to remember, right? So that's what we're trying to do. Like I said, I'm an educator. That's the main thing. That's the main thing that I do. And another thing that, just think about how I can continue to help you all, because, if there's any kind of blockchain conferences that come up, I kind of have my credentials and my platform to submit proposals. 5-time TEDx speaker on blockchain, who's going to turn that down? But that's where we can start pumping this thing, and start getting awareness. That's going to be interesting. And in my opinion, that's going to be appealing to investors as well.
Yeah, that's good. Once you get your model right, we can introduce our connections to you, but I need to see a white paper to see. You need to. I can give you some idea, but again, just only. You have some sort of thing. I'll send you the stuff once I got the time to, onboard you to the Bit.Country. And then our next round, just confidentially, we'll look at least 5 times. Basically, what you get now, if you sell in the next round, you get 5 times, pretty much.
So I gotta start getting my money right. You're telling me, huh?
Yeah, but allocation-wise, it's all run over. We just need to. I think you can use that in the future to create your own Bit.Country that's going to be sufficient. $2,000 you can get.
I'm gonna get every time. Hey, whatever you can offer me, I'm gonna take it.
Okay, awesome.
This is, and if I can get some more, tell me what I got to do to get some more.
Yeah, that's a challenge at the moment.
Right, I know.
There's a VC company in the Mana world. And he asked me for a long time how much allocation. The VC company. In the Mana, the Middle East, North Africa, the Muslim regions. I said, how about $5,000? And he took it.
Yeah.
There's a VC. There's a big VC. They have a. It's just crazy now. We had 40 VCs. We have big guys like Hypersphere, DFC, Animoca brands. We're having to make an announcement. And WG had 40 million followers on YouTube, like a Mr. Beast, a lot of KSI, Fresh. A lot of KSI. You go Google and he has 12 million followers. So they'll be interested in the LPs of the VC. That means they will have their money investing as well.
Yeah.
So anything you have, I mean, on day one, we have 50 VCs on the waiting list.
Really?
You want to close it. So you should feel privileged to have something.
I am privileged. I'm honored. And like I said, anything I can do, and that's why I say anything I can do, let me know. I'll do it.
And also, we're gonna do that based on win-win. This again that get your name in our list, and in the future when you do, this will give you a level of authority in blockchain. When you talk about blockchain, you work with a successful project, and then be an early adopter and investor.
The most successful project in blockchain history. That's what you got to say.
Could be, yeah.
This is where this is going. This is where this is going. So
and also when we do the MetaSoul project, also the Meta Storage project, all the existing seed investors will get a certain amount of airdrop. So there will be compound coming here. So we'll tell you more about that. But all the other project is confidential. We don't want people to see that we want to put our finger in too many pies. And then as a matter of fact, we do want to focus. However, it's inevitable for us to do them because there's no solution. We have to do it. We have to solve our own problem by doing that. Yeah. So that will be the whole initiative under Metaverse.network. Yeah, so we're also converting a lot of game company to that. We already talked to companies in China. They're interested on both blockchain, but they will be using our storage, our MetaSouls. So your soul will be across different metaverses. Yeah.
So when is the early access going to get rolled out, you think?
We try to make an internal access for internal investors maybe in 3 months. And then we do another round. Yeah.
Am I on that? Am I on that list? Am I on that internal list?
Yeah, definitely. All the seed investor can join.
I can't wait.
Bring their friends to test things out. But we want to make a first impression, right? So we don't want to. But we got a little demo here with the music. You're gonna love it. Let me just stop recording. We do